abusia eye OSP eye kisi ajaben ene eye Ken Ofori Atta abusia eye former finance minister ene Lawyer Martin Kpebu ababonten abekansem ede afa eye SML deal ya chese OSP ba abonten de ni na de betu jo chene nsemu a Ken Ofori Atta nyame adoma November chese foforo eba abebo no na de na eba abebo no abusia eye SMLD na Martin Kpebu eye private legal practitioner ababo so chene nsemu a nia OSP kisi ajaben ekeka yina no abusia chese otena se na odwen ho anse ensisi so ema no yes ensisi so ema no OSP ne ye bia oye no ono Lawyer Martin Kpebu tena se ensisi so ema no abusia edienti na oka sansem we dey ma mekasa wapese ekone kotie adekronti a Lawyer Martin Kpebu eka sansem we e dey akire eye OSP kisi ajaben abusia yenti emase how say be media gh mbodi subscribe like na bo ahwan for pension no be etie no enya bi enti yenti Lawyer Martin Kpebu ne se model tuja efa OSP ene eye Ken Ofori Atta when emase ya that's
to speak to, because I don't understand. Okay. If we pay them 1.4 billion and contract itself is void, then let us go for the entire amount, because the contract itself is illegal. Okay. Let's go for 1.4 billion rather than saying we are going for 125 million. Martin is there.
Aligns with the OSP's detailed findings in this report. This question that Professor Jampo is asking, counsel, that in his understanding, if there was this amount of money spent or paid
in a void contract
to SML for no work done, but we are recovering just 125 million.
Yeah,
where's the justification?
I perfectly agree with Professor Jampo. That side of the OSP report doesn't add up. It doesn't add up because it's just like the way KPMG made some mistakes in its own report. Because what Jampo is speaking is law. That if the contract is void, and not just the voidness, but let's bring some education. The Supreme Court says when something is void, it doesn't necessarily mean we will not pay. They will look at it on a case-by-case basis, okay? That's what the law, the current state of the law. So it means that this one, when it comes to the recovery, civil recovery, where when it gets to the Supreme Court, they say they will consider each case on its merit. But the good thing for us here is that the OSP's own report shows that SML did not do the work. Mr. Okan say, I got the chance to get to some of the paragraphs.
Look at paragraph
215. Even before 212, 215 mentions how the SML flow meters couldn't work. Then there's paragraph 212, then 213. There are many other paragraphs that show that SML didn't do the work. So, and with that, I don't see how he said Jabin saying he'll recover only 125 million. So that part I agree. Sometimes maybe he should have said the investigations. I mean, he will come out with the final figures when he's done with the the charges. Because that much, I agree with Professor Jampo. We are going to take all that money because look, when you look at the paragraphs, you see even from 164, 165 onwards, you will still see how SML was not up to the task at all. They kept lying and lying. And please, so when you look at the 215, 212, etc., you see how the reports, some of the reports were now being taken to Ofori Atta. So Ofori Atta was the one receiving reports of SML's false performance, etc., and he didn't do anything to stop them. So as for Ofori Atta answering, he has a lot of questions to answer on this deal, because at that point, he was receiving this report when SML was lying that, oh, our figures are good. First, they said their figures were tallying with the icons. Then later, they saw that they were lying. Then they said, oh, they need to change their flow meters. Look at paragraph 215 onwards. They say, we'll change the flow meters. So all that while, why were we paying when the work was not being done? The man is telling you that my machines are not working. So how are you paying him? And that's how come we come back to the Manasseh documentary. The head of IT, you see the guy, is it Mohammed or so? You see him, Gani. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay? He's saying their equipment are not the best. the GRA MPA equipment for measuring the flow meters, etc., are better than the SML one. So why are we paying? Why are we paying when the man is there? It's not even like a phone call for somebody to come and say his voice has been doctored or anything. You see him with your own eyes. So I agree with Professor Jampo.
I see. And Council, because this matter, by the end of the month, we'll get to know what the OSP intends to do. He didn't give any indication of the consideration of trial in absentia, an option that you have been, not just you, like of Bentel and others have been pushing. Regardless of this finding, he still says he wants to go through the extradition process.
No, if Kisi Ejabin insists on that, I'll be the first to present a petition for his removal from office. I'm saying this Article 146 proceedings. If Kisi Ejabin insists that he will not put Ofori Atta before court immediately so that we can freeze his assets, I'll be the first to present a petition for his removal. Mr. Okansi, I don't know how many times I have to cry this point, that as we stand here today, okay, OSP has not frozen his assets. If they've done and they are hiding it, then they should come out, because if you don't give us information, this is how we'll analyze. I'm saying that Ofori Atta has many assets in Ghana, the shares in enterprise insurance, data bank, the houses, other businesses. So we need to be able to put him before court so that we can get the longer duration freezing asset. Currently, if you look in the OSP Act, the Act 959, yes, I think they have up to 14 days. Yeah, there's one which is 7, another 14. I don't have the act here. Obviously, I've traveled. But the key thing is that Kisi Ejabin's powers to freeze is limited. The maximum will be 14 days. So he has to go to court and get a longer freezing order. Now, he cannot have that when there is no case in court against, Ofori Atta. So after charging them, and I explained the last time, when he says he's charging somebody, charging is done in the OSP office. So charging is not taking the person to court. So police charge in the various police stations across Ghana. Charging is done there for stealing so many offenses, right? Even murder, they do that. But later on, the Attorney General takes over. But what I'm saying is that charging is done in the law enforcement agency's office. It is not done in court. It's arraignment that is done in court. So when you formally present the case, so we need Kisi to eventually hurry up and send the case to court so that we'll get freezing orders over Ofori Atta's assets. If we don't do that, we are going to lose everything. So I'm telling you, if Kisi has to come out and give us timelines, how he's going to hurry up to make sure that the assets are frozen. Otherwise, I'll be leading a petition for his removal. We can't take that. Well, it's not rocket science. Simple thing. He sat on this thing from 2023 up to now. Very slow. Kukwasa, pussyfooting like that, allowing Ofori Atta to get away with murder. We will not take that from Kisi Ejabin.
Right.
We will not take that. Look, the OSP is not his private company. He's doing it in the public interest. He should hurry up and get into court and get freezing orders over the assets. That's why I keep saying that Kisi Ejabin is not speaking oral. He is not aligned with the oral principle. If he was aligned, by now he would have been in court long ago and made sure that he's frozen this asset. Over says Operation Recover or Loot. Operation Recover or Loot. We can't afford to have Ofori Atta sell these assets, transfer to various people, etc.
Thank you very much. Lawyer Martin Kpebu, thank you for also your position on this matter. Number of your messages. Fifi Banson says, good morning. Is it not ironic that the current GRA boss was in charge of KPMG? The same firm that cleared SML. Why has he not been questioned? Fifi Banson, thank you very much for your message this morning. This one here from John says the points made by Dr. Zato that the OSP is not the employer of SML in the case under investigation, so cannot say SML did the job or not, is clearly very, very flawed and cannot be entertained. The OSP has a mandate it is exercising in the SML matter. If the Dr. Zato's suggestion should be accepted in any form, then it will make the creation and existence of the OSP needless and unnecessary, you say. And then also a good morning to you. Professor Stephen Kpebu StRïkes, and the acknowledgement, and also to you as well, Toby, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, thank you very much. And then also Kwabla from Pokwase says, I didn't get the import of the message that you sent, but thank you very much for the message. Kojo Akakwatin says, please ask Dr. Zato why the state didn't use the past 8 years to get the monies he's constantly complaining about that the state has lost. Regarding all the as declared by the current Attorney General, they had all the time to prosecute these cases. So why then did they wait till this point? This one here says, fact is, only Ken Ofori Atta understands the so-called revenue assurance, and it brought us nothing but rather hardship. You say, Papa Bishu from Spintex Road. Thank you very much. Money as well sends a message on that same tangent, watching us on Facebook. Dr. Austin Game says, Nene, to be honest, and an experience gained over the years working in the public sector, ministry, and also in the private sectors, my findings are poor leadership provided by the board of directors, policy and strategy that are incoherent and poorly implemented. It's a bane of our situation on the matter you discussed earlier. Thank you very much. This leads us to an issue where Daryl Bosu is the Deputy National Director of Arocha, Ghana. Daryl has been with us listening to all the heartbreaking, some of the comments made in the matter of defense as well that's put up. Daryl, thank you for joining us. Finally, the instrument revoking LI 2462, which was enacted in 2022 to ensure environmental management principles, and in fact allowing mining companies to mine in forest reserves, effectively will be revoked with this act that the acting Minister of Environment, Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, has done. You want to make a presentation on why the LI must be revoked. And well, he's gone ahead to do this. So what exactly are you asking of him? How much of a difference would that make in the fight against Galamsey? And we've conceded that all the minutes are to you on this.
No, so
yes,
because we're working together in the fight against Galamsey. When I see that point, I think you allow me to make some preliminary comments about that.
In 1 minute.
Oh, you are the host.
Yes.
And then the lies again disease. No, so Alfred, a good move. I think that in our advocacy that more must be done in the fight against Galamsey, we said that the law itself that allow people to go into our forests to mine it down must be repealed. And I am happy that a motion has been tabled before Parliament for the repeal of that law. Now, those who are talking that the government is not doing anything about the fight against Galamsey, those who made the law to encourage people to go into the forest to mine it down, they are the ones who are saying the government are not doing, isn't doing anything in the fight against Galamsey. Now, the law that you made to allow people to get into the forest to destroy it, it is being repealed by this government, and I think that it's a good move. The fight against illegal mining is a fight that must bring all of us together to support the government to ensure that we win, because without it, it's an existential threat. So, well, congratulations to the government, and I'm happy that this hasn't been one of the things that people talk about and they never implement. We would all police it and ensure that it goes through the motions to ensure that no one gets into the forest to mine it down.
Okay. Daryl,
thank you very much, Prof, and also Alfred, for this opportunity, and also to the esteemed guests. I think this instrument in Parliament right now is very, very important and very commendable. I must say that we are very excited that the government is really living up to its commitment to repeal this LI. But I think just to remove any doubts, I mean, yesterday I was engaging with certain media channels, and they were even still not sure what really is the significance for this LI being revoked. And I might say that I want every Ghanaian to know that our forest reserves, as they were set up, they were not set up for them to be future mining concessions. No. They were set up for the purposes of guaranteeing the provision of essential services for people in Ghana here. So for anybody to think that, wait, some Newmont or other companies are mining, so Ghanaian companies should also have opportunity to mine our forest reserves in the future, that is not the reason why our forest reserves were set up. Now, the reason why I want to take us through this quickly is the fact that, look, before the LI 2462 was passed in November 22, this was the status. There was a guideline, and it has actually been a policy of the Forestry Commission of the country to actually exclude mining in all forms from our forest reserve. But somewhere in the mid-80s, there was a process that also saw some 30 mining companies being allowed to do some prospecting. And that led to a decision that, look, we can't allow all of these people to go and mine in our forest reserve. So they came up with a guideline, and with that guideline, still set up a limit of about 2% of the total area of Ghana's production forest reserve, which constituted about 79%. 2%. So if you really look at the status we were before the LI came into being, it means that only about 25,000 hectares of our forest reserves were going to be exposed to the risks of mining, just 2%. Now, LI 2462 comes online, and that is what we consider as one of government's own form of doing galamsey. Because when that LI came online, it meant that not only 2%, but 89% of our forest reserves were going to be exposed to mining. Because
89%.
That 89%, that LI alone was targeting production forests and even protected forest reserves. Compared to the previous guideline, which was only targeting
yo guswa o hwe ensem no edema subscribe, like it to jumadi and share ma afoforo enso ensa inkabe. Kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the any news be on to platform so I won so well hunu de echo and the air that ye ba POG media ye wo juma de bebre and answer jumadi stronko do na de de bremo jumadi no fa mienu na ye ba be room no eye nchechemu ahodo na ye de e ba ya bra the panelists no omode eye ensunsan so do na
2% of production forest reserve. So this was what LI 2462 sought to do in 2022, exposing 89% of our forest reserves to mining risks. And then we called for a repeal. Government came 2025. Actually, the previous government tried it. There was an instrument, we all saw it, but it never went to Parliament. This government came, they also said they were going to repeal it. Somehow, they decided to amend. But I want people to understand the implication of that amendment. It only meant that 79%, it only meant that we're going to expose 79% of our forest reserves to mining. So only 10%. Between LI 2462 before the amendment, only 10% difference. And that's why we said that we needed to come back to the status quo where we had just 2% of our mining forest reserve exposed to mining. And that is why we are very excited that the government has taken steps not only to listen to the people, the voice of the people, but also to guarantee the protection of our forest reserves. But I must say that, look, this is only the battle have won. This is not going to solve the problem of galamsey. The government has also indicated that they are going to take steps to completely exclude mining from our forest reserve through the review of the Minerals and Mining Act 703. So we are really looking forward to that. But let's also not forget that even when the laws are in place, as a country, we need to stay vigilant and make sure that law enforcement, compliance mechanisms, and all of these things are in place. And I think that this is, for me, very, very crucial. And we must really come. And we are looking forward to the 21 days to elapse. And then we can all really be very happy about this progress that has been made. But Alfred, I want to step away from this, but I know we'll get the opportunity to comment on it. There is something right now happening in Atronsu. Seshwi Atronsu, between Awaso and Seshwi Bibieni. That community is struggling as we speak to keep away miners. Miners who have come to the community with excavators, connected, people who have identified themselves to be connected to the NDC. One particular person called Joe K, who has actually threatened the youth of the area that he is going to mine at whatever cost. We are calling on the municipal assembly, we are calling on the municipal police commander and NIMOS and every concern, even the regional minister, to really intervene. So this is what I'm just talking about. We have put in place these measures, but it does not solve the problem of the marauding incidents of galamsey all over the country. So it is only the battle have won, and we need to do more to support communities that are close to forest reserves that are also trying to protect their community lands.
Now, yesterday, NIMOS got some resource backing and support. Some number of pickups and others. They've been asking for resources. When you met the president, I mean, I'm talking about the CSOs. Yeah. He put an amount of money, a figure. The minister was asked a question, how much they would need in this fight against Galamsey. So you need resource to be able to fight the menace.
Yes.
And that's where the challenge is, because we can't have a lot of the resource. So without it, then what?
Well, Alfred, I think you talk about a very important point, and that's why we have always told ourselves that, look, when we sat down for this Galamsey to get out of hand, eventually it is the state that's going to take the bill. You and I are going to be charged, we're going to be compelled to pay some taxes, to find some resources, to resource the very institutions that should have done their work in the first place. And that is why NIMOS has been set up. They have an excellent strategy in place, but they don't have sufficient resources and logistics to deploy. So they are really there. We all know NIMOS is there, but they are struggling. It is good to hear that they've been given some pickups and some, but that is not, they need nothing less than 30 million Ghana cedis just to deploy to the 21 locations that they've talked about. If you have listened to the Honorable Minister for Lands in the past, he said that, look, we will need about $10 billion to really fight Galamsey. So really, if you look at what we claim we are getting from the whole gold value chain, and you ask yourself about the trade-offs, then the question is it really worth it? Because at the end of the day, we must fix the rivers for us to have wholesome water to drink. So is it worth it? And that is why we don't see why a government thinks that I can take the gold and not be bothered about what happens to the rivers and to the forest. These are very critical issues that we cannot discuss without really looking at the cost-benefit analysis of the whole value chain that we are so very much interested in prioritizing over everything else.
Isaac, that's a quick one on this. And Daryl, you can take a seat now. Yes, as a quick one on this while we round up.
So, I mean, this is very exciting to hear, to read that, you know, the LI to revoke mining in our forest is eventually, you know, coming on board. Hopefully, we see it out. It's an important step. As Daryl comments, is not the end of it. We need to keep fighting, you know, and actually ensure that, I mean, the guys who have been mining in the forest, most of them are not doing it under any law. Yeah. It's still illegal. So whether you have the law or not, you still need to put in measures to, you know, as it were, protect the forest. There's an important conversation about the cost benefit of mining, you know, and especially mining in our forest. The Atiwa forest, for example, very rich in bauxite. There's been conversations about trying to, you know, exploit the bauxite in that forest. But that forest has been, you know, I think as far back as 1997, has been listed as one of the 38 most important places on earth, you know, just because of the biodiversity, species, and stuff like that, you know. And if you look at our track record, mining around, you know, what we've done to our rivers and all of that, I don't see how we will be able to, you know, extract that bauxite and not totally destroy those biodiversity, which is very essential. It is the head pond for about 3 major rivers that we have in the country, you know, providing livelihood to millions of Ghanaians, you know, and we just want to go in there, take the bauxite out.
You've enjoyed as well. POG Media, Yadiano, Yapasa Uhugane, Yapasa Uhudia Ghana Echo, Yamanya Semu, Yimpuntu, and ye kind Konina, POG Media, and the exclusive bed, Eber Bremuti Jabre, Neshe Aye, Jume.